Two white Silverados sit on the same used lot in Dallas, Texas. Crew cab, 80,000 miles, listed at $28,500. One will run 300,000 miles on oil changes and spark plugs. The other will seize on a highway on-ramp at 40,000 miles with no warning light, no strange noise, and no time to pull over. The difference between these two trucks is invisible from the outside. It is a 3-character engine code stamped on the block, hidden under a plastic cover the dealer never removes. In April 2025, General Motors recalled 597,571 Silverados, Sierras, Tahoes, Suburbans, Yukons, and Escalades for a defect that causes the engine to destroy itself while the truck is moving. The recall covers one engine. The other engines in the same trucks were not affected. Every recalled vehicle carries the same RPO code L87. The Silverado you are buying is not a truck. It is an engine code. One code carries a federal recall, multiple class action lawsuits, and an engineering decision General Motors made to pass a fuel economy test your truck was never built to take. The other code carries none of that. If you drive a Chevy truck right now, what engine code is stamped on your block? Drop it in the comments. This is what American Motor Files covers every week, the engineering decisions that determine whether your truck outlasts the loan or ends up on a flatbed. Subscribe so you catch the next one. The recalled engine is the 6.2-liter V8 coded L87 on the build sheet. It sits inside the most expensive Silverados on any lot. High country trim packages, GMC Denali editions, and every Cadillac Escalade sold between 2021 and 2024 came with this engine as standard equipment. The truck that costs the most is the truck most likely to strand you. The failure starts inside the crankshaft oil galleries, narrow passages machined into the rotating assembly to carry pressurized oil to the connecting rod bearings. During manufacturing, metal sediment from the machining process was left inside those passages. That sediment sits between the bearing surface and the crankshaft journal, blocking the oil film that prevents metal-on-metal contact. When the oil film breaks down, the bearing overheats. The connecting rod seizes against the crankshaft. On some trucks, the rod bends and keeps spinning inside the crankcase. On others, it punches clean through the side of the engine block. Both outcomes happen at highway speed, without warning, on trucks with fewer than 40,000 miles. NHTSA received 1,157 complaints before GM issued the recall. 39 of those complaints describe total loss of propulsion on a moving vehicle. The agency's investigation report names 2 root causes, both traced to supplier manufacturing failures. First, rod bearing damage from sediment left in connecting rod and crankshaft oil galleries. Second, crankshaft journals machined out of specification with incorrect dimensions and surface finish. General Motors' initial remedy was a service bulletin instructing dealers to change the oil from 0W20 to 0W40 and replace the oil fill cap. Thicker oil pressed into service as a bandage over a crankshaft machined to the wrong dimensions. Even replacement engines built before April 2024 carry the same defect. A farmer in Georgia had a brand new Sierra AT4 lock up at 4,000 miles. The dealer installed a replacement engine. That engine locked up again before 50 miles. NHTSA opened a second investigation in October 2025, covering an additional 286,000 vehicles, including 2019 and 2020. Model years the first recall never touched. General Motors told the press that manufacturing improvements implemented before June 1, 2024 fixed the problem. Owners with trucks built before that date are still driving on the original crankshafts. Some of those owners are making $900 per month payments on a truck that sits in a dealer service bay waiting for a replacement engine General Motors cannot supply fast enough. Approximately 3% of the recalled trucks, roughly 18,000 vehicles, require complete engine replacement based on General Motors' own inspection data. The rest receive the oil viscosity change and a new fill cap, along with an extended warranty of 10 years or 150,000 miles from the original in-service date. That warranty only covers the original purchaser. If you buy a used 6.2 Silverado from a private seller, the extended warranty does not transfer with the title. You inherit the crankshaft. You do not inherit the coverage. If someone is selling a 2021 to 2024 Silverado with the 6.2, check the build date on the door jamb sticker before you check the price. Better yet, walk past it. The 6.2 is the obvious engine to avoid. The harder call is the engine sitting in 80% of the Silverados on the road right now. The 5.3-liter V8 has been in GM trucks since 1999. For the first 7 years of production, it was one of the most durable gasoline V8 engines ever bolted into an American pickup. No turbochargers, no variable valve timing. A cable-operated throttle body connected to the driver's right foot by a steel cable, not a wire. The block is cast iron, the rotating assembly is forged steel, and the cylinder heads flow enough air to make 295 horsepower without any forced induction. GM sold millions of these engines. Mechanics still service them every week in shops across Texas, Oklahoma, and Montana. The owners drive in for oil changes, not engine rebuilds. A man in Billings, Montana runs a 2004 Silverado with the 5.3 Vortec and 287,000 miles on the original engine. He changes the oil every 4,500 miles with conventional 5W30. The truck starts every morning in -20-degree winters and pulls a stock trailer across frozen ranch roads 6 months of the year. That engine does not know what a lifter failure is. Neither does the 2001 Suburban with the 5.3 Vortec sitting in a church parking lot in rural Oklahoma with 312,000 miles and the original transmission. The owner is a retired electrician who has never heard of active fuel management. He has never searched for Silverado lifter tick because his truck does not make that noise. His maintenance schedule is oil every 5,000 miles, plugs every 100,000, and a new set of tires when the old ones go bald. The truck costs him less per year than the insurance policy that covers it. That is what the 5.3 was. The version built after 2006 is a different engine wearing the same name. In the 2007 model year, General Motors added a system called Active Fuel Management to the 5.3-liter. AFM uses special hydraulic lifters that collapse on command to shut down 4 of the engine's 8 cylinders under light load. The truck runs as a 4-cylinder on the highway to save fuel. General Motors did not add this system because truck buyers requested it. No Silverado owner walked into a dealership in 2006 and asked for a V8 that shuts off half its cylinders at cruising speed. General Motors added AFM because the corporate average fuel economy standard required a fleet-wide fuel economy average that a traditional V8 could not meet on the federal test cycle. The corporate average fuel economy standard does not measure what your truck gets on the road. It measures what the fleet averages on a dynamometer in a government lab. Cylinder deactivation adds 1 to 2 miles per gallon on that test cycle, enough to move the fleet average above the compliance threshold. On the road, with a trailer behind the truck and a load in the bed, the system provides almost nothing. The cylinders reactivate under load because the engine needs all 8 to produce torque. The fuel savings exist on a government test. The repair bill exists on your invoice. General Motors chose the cheapest compliance path. Deactivate cylinders on a proven engine instead of engineering a new platform that met the target without the complexity. The cost of that decision does not appear on the window sticker. It appears at 119,500 miles in a repair shop on a Saturday you needed the truck. AFM lifters cycle between collapsed and extended states hundreds of times per highway mile. Over time, they stick, collapse permanently, or shatter. When an AFM lifter fails, it drags across the camshaft lobe it rides on. Metal fragments from the damaged lobe circulate through the oil system. A repair that started as a $1,200 lifter replacement becomes a $3,500 to $8,000 engine teardown once the camshaft is scored and the debris has traveled. Owner data compiled from NHTSA complaints shows AFM lifter failures on 2014 through 2018 Silverados cluster at an average of 119,500 miles. The repair cost depends entirely on how long the owner drove after the first tick appeared. Some owners tried a plug-in electronic device that sends a signal through the OBD2 port, telling the computer to keep all 8 cylinders active. The device changes the software command. It does not remove the AFM lifters from the engine. They are still inside, still cycling under oil pressure, still wearing against the camshaft. Owners who installed disablers on brand new trucks reported lifter collapse at 30,000 miles. The hardware is the weakness, not the software. In 2019, General Motors replaced active fuel management with a system called dynamic fuel management. Dynamic fuel management does not shut down 4 fixed cylinders. It cycles between 17 different firing patterns, switching which cylinders fire and which go dormant dozens of times per minute. The switching is faster and more frequent than active fuel management. The lifters are still collapsible. General Motors classifies oil consumption of 1 quart per 2,000 miles as within normal specification on these engines. On a truck with a 7-quart oil capacity, that means the engine burns through more than half its oil supply between changes if the owner follows the factory 7,500-mile interval. That specification does not describe a healthy engine. It describes an engine consuming its own protection at a rate General Motors considers acceptable on a truck that cost $52,000 new. Lawsuits followed. A class action over these lifter failures has been working through federal court since December 2021, filed in the Eastern District of Michigan. General Motors' response has been technical service bulletins and limited warranty extensions, not a redesign. The collapsible lifters shipping in 2025 and 2026 model year Silverados are the same fundamental hardware used since the system launched in 2007. There is one engine in the current Silverado lineup that does not carry the 6.2-liter recall, does not use AFM, does not use DFM, and has never shipped with collapsible lifters. The 2.7-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder, internal code L3B. It makes 310 horsepower and 430 pound-feet of torque. That torque figure is higher than any naturally aspirated V6 GM has ever put in a full-size truck. The block is compacted graphite iron, a material developed for heavy-duty diesel applications because it absorbs harmonic vibration 75% more effectively than gray iron while resisting fatigue cracking under sustained thermal load. This is the same block material used in engines designed to run 500,000 miles in commercial service. The turbocharger runs at lower absolute boost pressure than the 3.5 EcoBoost in the competing F-150. Lower boost means lower thermal stress on the bearings, the seals, and the oil. For daily driving, weekend hauling, and towing up to 9,000 pounds, this engine does everything the 5.3 V8 does without the cylinder deactivation system that collapses lifters and without the bearing defect that seizes 6.2-liter engines on the highway. The fuel economy is 2 to 4 miles per gallon. Better than the 5.3 in mixed driving. The purchase price runs $2,000 to $4,000 less than a comparable V8-equipped truck on the used market because buyers with V8 loyalty pay a premium the 2.7 does not command. The long-term maintenance cost is lower than either V8 option because there are no collapsible lifters to replace and no cylinder deactivation solenoids to fail. The only maintenance penalty is the turbocharger itself, which requires disciplined oil changes at 5,000-mile intervals. Skip those changes and turbo bearing wear becomes expensive. Keep them on schedule and the turbo outlasts the loan. The 2.7 is the engine most Silverado buyers skip because a 4-cylinder does not sound like it belongs in a full-size truck. That judgment is based on the badge stamped into the valve cover, not the iron holding the crankshaft in place. Compacted graphite iron does not care what number is printed on the fender. For the buyer who wants no turbochargers, no direct injection, and no computer deciding which cylinders fire, the answer is older and simple. A 2003 to 2006 Silverado with the 5.3 Vortec and no AFM trades for $8,000 to $15,000 on the private market, depending on mileage and cab configuration. These trucks use cable throttle bodies. They run on all 8 cylinders, all the time. The engine management system is simple enough that a shade tree mechanic with a $40 code reader can diagnose every failure mode the truck is capable of producing. There are no turbo wastegate actuators, no direct injection high-pressure fuel pumps, no cylinder deactivation solenoids, and no continuously variable valve timing phases. The parts that wear out on these trucks are the parts that wear out on every truck: brakes, ball joints, wheel bearings, and exhaust. None of those repairs require a factory scan tool. None of them cost more than a weekend and a trip to the parts store. The truck does not need a dealer to tell it how to run. The cold start is the test that settles everything on any Silverado, old or new. Show up before the seller warms the truck up. Start the engine yourself. Listen to the first 30 seconds. A healthy 5.3 fires and settles into a smooth idle within 5 seconds. A 5.3 with failing AFM lifters ticks like a sewing machine for 10 to 15 seconds, then goes quiet once oil pressure builds and the damaged lifters pump up. That tick is a camshaft lobe telling you what the seller's listing never will. On a 6.2, the cold start test is less useful because the bearing failure happens suddenly without a gradual warning noise. The 6.2 fails like a light switch, not a dimmer. For the 6.2, the build date is your only defense. For any Silverado with the 5.3, ask one question about the service history. When was the oil last changed and at what interval? If the owner averaged more than 6,000 miles between changes, the AFM lifters have been running on degraded oil during every deactivation cycle. That is where the wear accelerates. If the owner cannot answer the question or has no records, price in $3,500 for deferred lifter work before you make any offer. If the seller refuses a cold start, that is your answer. The engine under the hood decides everything that happens after the purchase. The trim, the color, the seats, the screen on the dashboard, all of that changes with a weekend and a credit card. The engine changes with a $6,000 invoice and a month in the shop. Find the right code. The truck that does not need permission from a software update to run its own engine is the truck that still starts when GM stops supporting the module. That is what the Silverado was before a fuel economy regulation turned it into something else. Subscribe to American Motor Files for the next one.